In a quaint village bordered by the whispering forest, Mama Pig prepared to send her 3 children, Peter, Paul, and Penny, out into the world. The sun glowed softly as she packed them food and wrapped them in hugs. "Life is full of surprises," she said. "Build strong, think smart, and always be kind." The pigs, now grown, nodded. Each one dreamed of building a home of their own, but in their own way. They waved goodbye as birds chirped overhead. With their bags full and hearts hopeful, the 3 little pigs set off along the dusty road, unaware of the challenge that would soon test everything they believed about strength, family, and survival. As the pigs journeyed through fields and forests, they reached a fork where a weathered sign pointed in 3 directions: hillside, meadow, and riverbend. Peter pointed left toward the woods. "Strong timber there," he said. Paul shrugged. "The meadow looks sunny. I'll go right." Penny eyed the riverside trail. "I like the sound of water," she smiled. They agreed to meet weekly and support one another. With one last group hug, they each took their path. Birds flew overhead, carrying word of their journey. None of the pigs knew they were being watched from a distance by a shadowy figure with fur, fangs, and a very big appetite. In the sunny meadow, Paul quickly found a friendly farmer gathering straw. "Perfect!" he exclaimed, trading a few coins for a tall stack. He pieced together a little hut with bundles of straw tied with rope. It was quick and light, and by noon, Paul was resting in a hammock. "I'll nap while others slave away," he chuckled, sipping fresh lemonade. Butterflies fluttered near the walls, and birds perched on the roof. Though it looked charming, the house swayed slightly in the breeze. Paul paid no mind. "Done is done," he shrugged, unaware that a pair of yellow eyes was watching from the woods. Peter trekked through the woods and began collecting strong sticks and fallen branches. He sorted them by size, laid a foundation, and started to build. It took 2 days of work, measuring, tying, hammering, but the final result was a simple, sturdy stick cottage with a chimney and shutters. "It's not fancy," he said, wiping sweat from his brow, "but it'll take a storm or 2. He lit a fire inside, made stew, and hung lanterns along the windows. That night, as he watched fireflies outside, he felt confident. Yet nearby, the wind shifted slightly, and something rustled in the underbrush unseen. Penny's brick house following the riverbend, Penny stumbled across an old brickyard owned by a retired mason. "I'll work for bricks," she offered. He smiled. "Deal." She spent days cleaning, lifting, and learning how to lay mortar properly. By the end of the week, her little brick house began to rise. Strong walls, a tiled roof, glass windows, and a sturdy oak door. Inside, she placed her books, tools, and even flower pots on the windowsills. It wasn't easy, but she built something to last. "Strong on the outside," she said. "Warm on the inside." That night, a low growl echoed in the distance. Grizzle, the big bad wolf, emerged from his den deep within the dark hollow forest. He stretched, sniffed the air, and caught the scent of pigs. "Well, well," he muttered, licking his lips. Fresh meat moved into the forest. Known for more than his strength, his cunning made him feared across the valley. Grizzle had terrorized villages for years. But now he was hungry again, and 3 little pigs sounded like a feast. He chuckled darkly and padded silently toward the edge of the trees. "Let's see which house falls first," he smirked, vanishing into the mist like a shadow on the hunt. Grizzle arrived at Paul's straw house just before sunset. With a smooth voice, he called out, little pig, let me come in." Paul peered out and laughed. "Not by the hair on my chinny chin." Grizzle grinned wickedly. "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." He inhaled deeply and exhaled a massive gust. Straw exploded like confetti, and Paul screamed, bolting through the back door. Grizzle lunged but missed. "A runner? Ha!" The wolf growled, eyes gleaming. Paul darted through the tall grass, heart pounding. "Peter's house! It's stronger!" he panted, disappearing into the woods. Peter opened the door as Paul sprinted toward him. He blew it down. "He's coming!" Paul shouted. Peter shut the door and locked it. "Then we stand our ground." Moments later, Grizzle's shadow loomed. Little pigs, let me in. Not by the hair on our chinny chin-chins. The wolf grinned. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff. He blew once, twice, and on the third, the stick wall snapped. The roof cracked. Run! Peter shouted. Boards collapsed as the pigs leaped through the window. To Penny's! Paul cried. Behind them, Grizzle howled in frustration, pieces of wood at his feet. Penny was baking cornbread when her brothers came crashing through the garden gate. He's coming, they cried. She opened her door and ushered them in. Stay calm, she said. This house won't fall. They bolted the door, locked the shutters, and peeked outside. Grizzle emerged from the trees, tail swishing, eyes glowing. He padded up to the door and knocked. Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on our chinny chin-chins, they said. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. The wolf inhaled deeply and blew with fury. Nothing moved. The wolf's rage Grizzle blew again and again. He stomped and roared, but the brick house stood firm. This isn't over, he growled. You think bricks can stop me? He paced outside, thinking. If the front won't open, he whispered, I'll take the sky route. Inside, Peter peeked. He's climbing. Penny nodded. The chimney. Quick, get the pot. They filled a large iron kettle with water and placed it over the roaring fire. Is it hot enough? Paul asked. It will be, Penny said. Outside, the wolf climbed the shingles, tail swaying. Dinner time, he whispered, easing himself over the chimney's edge, descending slowly. Grizzle slithered down the narrow chimney, imagining a surprise feast. Below, steam rose. The pigs waited silently. He's coming, Peter whispered. Suddenly, SBLOSH, Grizzle plunged into the boiling pot. YEARGH, he screamed, scalded and smoking. The pigs heard a great crash as he shot back up the chimney, coughing and clawing. On the roof, he scrambled, tail on fire, and flung himself into the bushes. Not worth it, he howled, vanishing into the forest. Inside, the pigs exhaled together. That's that, Penny said, stoking the fire. The three hugged, finally safe. Outside, the wind blew gently, as if even nature approved. The morning after sunlight spilled across the hills. Birds sang louder than usual. The pigs, well-rested, sat on Penny's porch sipping cider and nibbling cornbread. That wolf was awful, Paul muttered. He was clever, Peter added. But not clever enough, Penny smiled. They talked of rebuilding, helping others, and making a village safe from threats. We could share our story, Peter suggested. Teach others, Penny added. Paul grinned. And open a cafe. They laughed, hearts light again. From that day, they became more than survivors. They became leaders, architects, storytellers. Together, they had not only outwitted the wolf, they had built a legacy. Peter took up architecture, inspired by Penny's design. He studied blueprints, trained with beavers, and started building storm-resistant homes for the community. He taught young animals about measurements, angles, and safety. His designs became popular across the forest. From cozy cabins to village halls, Peter made homes that were not only strong but beautiful. If it's worth building, he said, it's worth building right. He visited his siblings weekly and shared new ideas. But he never forgot the lesson: preparation beats panic. His motto was carved into every home: brick by brick, breath by breath, hold your ground. Paul opened a cozy cafe in the village square. Straw and lemonade became a favorite spot for animals near and far. He served cornbread, muffins, and his famous citrus tea. The walls were lined with cheerful art and memories. Kids loved his storytelling nights where he reenacted the wolf scene with sound effects and puppets. Use straw for art, not houses, he'd joke. But behind the humor was a lesson learned: shortcuts don't last. With his profits, Paul donated to the village safety fund. His carefree nature remained, but he now valued strength, not speed. And yes, he still loved hammocks. Penny became the village's first building instructor. She taught classes under the old elm tree, where young animals learned how to mix mortar and lay bricks. Strong outside, smart inside, she told them. Her book, Brick by Brick, How to Build a Life That Lasts was read in classrooms in boroughs far beyond the valley. Penny's house became a model home and a symbol of resilience. She always welcomed visitors and shared stories by the fire. Her voice was calm but firm, like her walls. When asked how she stayed so brave, she'd simply smile and say, "Because I planned ahead." Grizzle limped into a new town, humbled and hairless. He vowed never to hunt again. Instead, he opened a vegan soup kitchen and served spicy carrot stew. "No pigs allowed," one rabbit teased. "All are welcome," Grizzle replied. Word spread, and soon animals visited for soup and stories. He warned young predators, "Don't underestimate others. You might end up in hot water." Though his tail remained singed, his heart softened. He never returned to the pigs' village, but sometimes he sent handwritten notes. Penny once received a jar of spice labeled Wolf's Fire. She placed it on her shelf and smiled. The village grows with safety restored, animals returned. The pigs helped build a thriving village with schools, homes, gardens, and a bakery. Squirrels became electricians. Moles dug tunnels for plumbing. Even raccoons learned bricklaying. The pigs' teamwork inspired everyone. At the center stood a bronze statue, 3 pigs standing back to back, guarding each other. Below, an inscription read, "Strength is shared." Kids played in parks, and adults told tales by lantern light. Each home had a chimney, but every fireplace told the same story. No matter how wild the wind, no wolf could shake a solid foundation of love, wisdom, and courage. A festival of bricks each year, the village held a brick festival in honor of Penny's legacy. There were races, building contests, and storytelling around campfires. Paul made themed desserts like Huff and Puff pudding and Chinny Chin Chimichangas. Peter hosted a masterclass for aspiring builders. Penny awarded golden trowels to the most creative students. Children dressed as pigs, wolves, and even bricks. Everyone danced until moonrise. It wasn't just a celebration of survival, it was about growth, creativity, and remembrance. As the stars sparkled above, the pigs sat on stage, hands clasped, honored to be more than a tale. They were a tradition. The next generation years passed. New piglets played by the river. One day, a small pig asked Penny, "Is the wolf real?" She knelt and nodded. He was, but he changed. And we learned. Peter added, "Every generation faces a wolf. Fear, laziness, shortcuts." Paul chuckled, "And every piglet can be a hero." The young pigs listened, eyes wide. "Will we build houses too?" one asked. "Yes," Penny said. "And you'll build more than homes. You'll build friendships, futures, and stories." They handed each piglet a brick, engraved with a star. It was more than a lesson. It was a legacy handed down one story at a time. The wind no longer carried growls. Only laughter and the scent of muffins filled the air. The pigs, older and grayer, stood on Penny's porch, gazing at the sunset. "We started with 3 houses," Peter said. "And built a world," Paul replied. Penny nodded, brick by brick. As night fell, a breeze rustled the leaves, but the fire inside crackled warmly. Stories were shared, and songs were sung. And if you visit that village, you'll find that no matter the wolf, the wind, or the weather, a strong heart, a clear mind, and good company can outlast them all. True strength comes not just from what you build, but how you live, with wisdom, courage, and care for others.